And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Today we're taking a look at Astro Drive. Now, Astro Drive is a racing game where you will be programming your movement, you'll be playing cards, and then moving your spaceships down through asteroids and around planets. It sounds very exciting, but it is a small box, and this is kind of like an 80s vibe of a cover. Is the game an exciting race game? Let's find out. In Astro Drive, players are going to be racing down a track here. They're going to be zooming down with their spaceship, trying to get through. You'll start with some random cards. There's a whole pile of track cards that are included with the game. You'll have a deck of 5 of them, and then on the very bottom, you'll have 3 cards, and one of those cards has the finish line on it. So you'll play from 5 to 7 cards before you get to that point. You'll place 3 of the cards face up like this. You're going to shuffle a deck of movement cards and hand those out to each player. Each player is also going to get a little thing that shows what your spaceship looks like and a spot for 3 cubes on it. You'll start with 2 of those cubes. On each turn, players are going to simultaneously pick a card from their hand and put it face down in front of them. They will then reveal the cards that they played. And you're going to look at the initiative number that's on each of them here. So this one has a 48, 29, 37. Highest initiative goes first. Each card is going to give you a certain number of movement points and control points. So here we have 5 and 1, 5 and 2, 4 and 1, etc. So if you have movement points that's going forward, control points lets you go left to right. So let's say I am the yellow player and I have 5 control points and 5 movement points and 1 control point. So I go 1, 2. Now, first of all, going to this one's free. So going into that space is free. Then here's 1. Now this black hole pulls me 1 towards it. Not the end of the world. This costs an extra movement point to move into, but didn't cost me any movement points to go that way. So far I've moved 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to use my control point to move over 5. So that's where I'm at this point in time. There's different terrain that's on here. These spots are free to move into. If you hit a planet, you're out of the game and you lose. If you hit an asteroid, you have to give up an energy cube, or if you don't have any, you lose. These spots cost an extra movement to go into. If you hit one of these cubes that will show up, you get to keep another energy cube. If you go to a black hole, it will pull you 1 towards it. If you get pulled into the black hole, then you lose. And if you go into a wormhole, you come out the other wormhole on the same card. You can also spend an energy cube for an extra 2 movement points or 2 control points. Finally, the cards themselves have special abilities on them. This has a wormhole, which lets you skip a space when you're moving. So maybe I'm here and I could just skip 1 space and jump over it. I have this one here, which lets me ignore black holes pulling them towards me. Also asteroids, I can ignore asteroids. This lets me pull myself towards a planet, and this simply gives me an energy cube. Everyone draws a card after the round's over. As soon as someone hits the 5th row of the last card, then we draw this and move it along and put this card like this. Once everyone's off a card, you can remove that card from the race as players move forward because, well, you don't need to keep them there. And you'll keep going until eventually the finish line is placed there, and then the first person to cross the finish line is the winner. Unless, of course, everyone else is eliminated, then the person who's not eliminated is the winner. Here's what I like about the components of the game. I like the pictures on these ships. That's pretty much it. These cards are all small. They're kind of boring. They give you your numbers that you need, but who cares, I guess? These cards are a little more interesting. The map cards, they look kind of spacey and neat, but they're kind of small. And the ships here are literally triangle wood pieces. I was actually disappointed. This one here is always the same. I would like this one more if the finish line, I don't know, if you just put it on a tile and it was that same one. This is very generic. I mean, this is trying to give you an 80s vibe, I guess, with how it looks, but the components really have a very generic look to them. Now, I normally don't let components really affect me too much on is a game good or not, But I think in this case, had the components been bigger and nicer and spaceships and cool looking cards and you know, really a neat board, I think I might have said that the game was decent. But those really chintzy little components mixed with very lackluster play makes this game kind of a pass. And it's just boring. First of all, the player elimination isn't fun at all. Now, granted, the game is not long. What does the box say here for time? It says 20 minutes. Fine, so 20-minute elimination, but just the fact that if you get forced into a planet, that's just not that exciting, or black holes. Usually, though, it's not a big deal. You usually can use your card to avoid those. If you hit another ship, or you're about to land another ship, you just skip their spot, but there's really no player interaction. When you play a card, you can play a high card saying, I want to go first, but the other person may play a high card. You literally have no, I'm going to play a high card because high cards give lower movement than lower cards. No, it looks to me like the numbers were all randomized and the special abilities all randomized. It doesn't feel like lower cards give you better abilities and better movement, and so like, ooh, I'm gonna do this, but then I'll go last and someone else might get into a spot before me, or it just feels like someone said, there's like nothing new here. Program movement we see before, numbers and cards determining who goes first, and then you just move around the board and move your ship down. It's really boring. There's no excitement to the game. It's like, will I hit the asteroid? No. You know how I won't hit the asteroid? Because I played a card that means I won't hit the asteroid. There's literally like no interesting events. There's nothing. It's deterministic, which I don't normally have a problem with, but then that determinism is affected by the randomness of the cards you get. Here's the card I want. I mean, the cards in this game, the movement cards, are really, okay, so this card is 4 movement, 2 control, 7 movement, 4, 2, 7, 0. This 7, 0 is 17. This one is a 16. 5, 1, 4, 1, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5, 1, 4, 1, 4, 2, 6, 1, 7, 0. They just all seem very similar. And you say, wait a minute, those 7 zeros were next to each other. Yeah, but here's a 6, 0, which is card 39. There's like no rhyme or reason. And the ones that give you special abilities, sometimes they're higher, sometimes they're lower. It's like they just randomly made these cards. So why not just roll dice and see how many movement points you get? I was not impressed by that at all. The track coming out, again, this is almost the exact same game as Mississippi Queen with a lot of the things it does. And Mississippi Queen has a lot more strategy to it as you speed up and slow down your boat, trying to go around curves. Yeah, Astro Drive, this was a big miss for me, honestly. I didn't dislike the game as much as I just was extremely unimpressed by it and unattracted to what happens. I was like, oh, did my ship blow up? No? Did I move? You move farther than me? Nice card draw. I don't know. That's not enough for me to recommend it. Very forgettable. No one will be talking about this in a few months or even next week. Astro Drive. Dice Tower Judgment? It's kind of boring.